play Foothills. Now, this is part of the Snowdonia world. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing, and that is what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, this game is a 2-player game, but Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, this came out in 2019. It's got a Board Game Geek rating of 7.1 and a Board Game Geek rank of 2811. It's, as you mentioned, 2 players, 30 to 45 minute average play length, age of 10 and up, designed by Ben Bateson and Tony Boydell. Art is by Clemens Franz. Interestingly, this is published by Lookout Games, whereas Snowdonia is published by NSKN Games. So I'm not sure why they changed it, but they still have the same Snowdonia logo. Now, this one is available at Card House and Miniature Market for $31.99. Amazon, interestingly, though, has it for $21.95. So it's actually cheapest on Amazon. And if you've got Prime, it looked like it had free shipping and returns. So assuming you can trust, because Amazon, there's some counterfeit issues with some of the purchases there. But if you trust Amazon, that'd be the place to go get this one.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about quality of pieces. These are sorry people. Literally from the game Sorry, I'm pretty darn sure.
No, they're actually, I think, wood, but they do resemble the classic Sorry pieces.
Which were
Sorry
wood.
Pieces they were plastic with a bigger base on them. They were plastic, though.
Anyway. So that you do have these little
they're the end rails for the railroad tracks.
Pointless. They are really pointless. The card quality is no linen finish. They are kind of okay.
Nice thickness.
They're nice thickness.
The cardboard actually does have a linen finish, interestingly, and it's actually a good thickness too.
Yeah, but beyond that, you've got basic cubes. There's nothing amazing, okay?
No,
they're
you do
really,
get a little bag to put them in.
But even that was rough, and trying to open that sucker was a pain in the butt. So, just reality is it is. I'll give it a 5.5 because you do have some building that you end up having to do, but they're not relevant to the game, really.
I'll probably give it a 6 because I think the cardboard's stock and the fact that it was linen finished was nice.
Okay. All right, so now let's talk about theme. So the theme is you are building railroads and stations and things like that. I'm sure there's an additional theme here, but that's the one that's relevant to the game. I'm building railroads.
Yeah, I mean, they translated the game of Snowdonia into a card-based 2-player game. It's exactly the same style as Snowdonia as far as the different actions. It's just translated to action cards. It does have your additional mechanics with the collection of bonus scoring at the end, which I thought were kind of neat. But
overall theme, I mean, it's a drain game.
Yeah, it's nothing outstanding. I do like the art. It's cartoonish, but it's not bad.
I'm thinking a 6 for theme.
Probably. I mean, it's not heavy in theme. It's, it is a train game. I mean, it's set in Snowdonia. If you like the Snowdonia theme, you'll probably like this theme.
All right, so now let's talk about the rule book. You ended up reading the rule book. It didn't take you long for me to teach me. Because all the cards are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, the rule book, first of all, for whatever reason, mine's bent. I wasn't real happy about that when it came in that way in the box. But the rule book itself, it's got nice pictures showing you what all the pieces are, and then how to set it up. Those sections were not bad at all. They were very well done. But when you get into the actual actions of the cards, it was confusing because it didn't really clearly explain the play of the cards at first. It took me a few action cards in before I realized how the mechanics work. It's not that complex. It's pretty simple that you're taking the action, flipping it, but it took a while because the other sides of the cards are not the same. They're custom for each player, and then also custom for the actions you get here. And then basically what they did was they put errata associated with each card based upon what color you were and whether it was the neutral cards. So they already had some questions that they had in there that they answered it for themselves if you had them based upon the iconography. I will say the card iconography was pretty good, and most of them had text at the bottom, which clearly stated what happened on the card.
I mean, no, I didn't need to look up anything. Everything was very clear on the board, and so I was like, or the card, so I was like, okay.
So, but I mean, they did, I think, anticipate some of the questions. Like, for example, I had ones where when you drew them out of the bag, it had an X with a white cube, and it basically specifically said if you draw the white cube, put it back after you've drawn and make sure you don't count that as the cube you drew. So the X on the white cube might have caused some questions, and that's probably why they put it. So I think they did a good job of anticipating those questions. It wasn't clear how the card play was until after you started reading through the actions, and then it clicked, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
So overall, what would you give it a score for the rules?
I'll give it a 7. I think it could have been a little clearer on how the card play worked. But other than that, I think they did a good job anticipating what questions might come. But once you get past the opening, the pictures are much less prominent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of verbiage to text, or of text versus pictures. And it is a pretty simplistic game once you get down to the roots of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now let's talk about actual gameplay. So the gameplay is you start out with your basics deck of cards, or, well, 5 actions, if you will. Nope, that's an A. That's a B. All right, so basically you have these 5 cards. Oh, there you go, there's C. All right, so basically you have 5 line up. If your first action, you're going to take one of those actions. So I will build a station. I will flip it over, okay? Which then I have to use this other action before I can use that build a station again. So I'll spend my resources, and so the tokens they give you, one side is the station, one side is the railroad. So I'm going to go build a station. I'll put it here. If it has a
picture of the meeple.
A picture of the meeple, you're going to take your meeple wherever it is, and you're going to go to the location and take its action. So that's kind of helpful to get your guy off a location, because you are very limited with your actions about moving and things like that. So that is to be noted. All right. And then, so that's like building a station is one. You can also build railroads. So basically you have other cards that allow you to take resources and make them into other things. Specifically, there are railroads as well. Railroads, but first, before you can build railroads, you have to clear it. So you don't see it on the game board, but there's rubble on each card, and so you have to remove the rubble and then build the brown tokens. And then you have to lay the railroad. You build the stations as well. You can build a station without building the railroad.
As long as the rubble is clear.
As long as the rubble's clear, and vice versa. Okay? So one is not beholden to the other. And then when you move your meeple around, there's a bunch of different actions as they open up. And as you build stations, you have access to those actions. And there's always these starting locations that allow you to get the tickets and minimal resources as well.
Tickets are useful for 2 purposes. One is some of the bonus cards will give you bonuses for collecting different tickets. But 2, there's a lot of the actions that will refer to if you have a ticket for this line, you can do the action.
So in a ticket or a line that you own a ticket to, you get to do whatever. All right. So I do want to point out, so the biggest thing is you're going to build railroads, you're going to build stations, you're going to move your meeple to gain resources. The other thing that you're going to do is you're wanting to get cards. You're going to want to replace your cards. There's a
tableau of 2 for each letter, A through E.
Yeah.
So 10 extra cards.
So your goal is to get those replaced, and you get to move cards over in your pile, and those are end of game victory point scoring, and that is up here in this corner here. So just kind of keeping that in mind as you're wanting to get those, and that is done by going to the pub action. In our particular case, there was this railroad that also, when you build a station, you automatically got to do that. But that is a big chunk of the score. But there is scoring points just for laying down the railroad, just for doing the stations, just for clearing the card. And then you keep on going. So there are a couple different things that trigger the end. can you explain this?
Yes. So in the bag with all the resources, there are white event token or cubes. If you pull a white event, that triggers the placement of what they call the Navi. And the Navi is going to take up, going vertically top to bottom and then left to right, the first location that has not got a station or railroad on it. You're going to place the Navi, and it's basically like a non-player character has built that location for us. So that if the Navis are all on the board, or there's no location for the Navi to place because you've already got a station or a railroad on every location, that will trigger the end of the game.
But there was another end of game condition where if these were built...
So the ends of the railroads would be the other condition, where if you've completed the railroads and 5 of the 6 rail lines, that will trigger the end of the game as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there were a couple of options there that could trigger end of game. So you're collecting victory points throughout the game, but you're also, like I said, focusing on that end game scoring, because I think that's where I got half my... No, more than half my significant amount.
Yeah, getting those cards down is key, which, of course, in order to do it, one of the key things about the game is you cannot play more of your cards, bonus cards, than you can have as stations. So that means you have to build stations in order to do that. And to build stations, you have to clear the rubble. So there's dependencies to the only thing that felt like that was not a dependency on was building the railroad.
Right, which kind of felt a little... imbalanced.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I think they should have had, you couldn't build a station until the railroad could reach it. That didn't make much sense to me. It was just the fact that the rubble was cleared would open that whole card up for anything. And it felt like the railroad...
Well, or there should have been...
power.
Yeah, or maybe the completion, like if it's completed, the person who completes the railroad gets victory. There should have been something to entice you to actually build the railroads. Because with the resource cost, I was like, I'm not... That seems silly to spend those resources to do that.
Well, I mean, you do get a victory point for each one.
Well, I mean, I did that, but then, like when this opened up, this made it more attractive. But, so there was, but still it wasn't, I was focusing, because when I realized how important those stations were, which I didn't, because I saw you getting on, I'm like, why is he building stations? Why is it so important? And then I realized it, and I was like, oh. So then I went after it. So might want to keep that in your mind and try to
be fair, you did it more effectively than I did. So you ended up with more cards than I got in play. You had 7 to my 5 because I triggered the end of game by drawing that event before I wanted to. But I will say the game felt like it was stalled at the end because... It
did. I was running out of actions, bad.
The actions that we had just became less important once the stations were all built, and we still had some rails delay, but there wasn't a whole big impetus to do that. And because, yes, you get 1 victory point as a result, whereas you get a lot more by just playing your cards and getting them down. So I was focused on trying to get my cards down. Unfortunately, to do that, you have to move to the pub. You have to move back away from the pub. You have to move back to the pub. And, if you only have 1 card that allows you to move your meeple, you're going to have to keep flipping it back over. You had a nice combo that lets you do that a lot more effectively than I did. So I ran into a stall on my situation where I was just trying to get my meeple card to flip back over so I could use it again.
Well, and I think knowing it now, I think it'll be a lot easier to play the game. Like, because at the beginning when I moved off, like I was bouncing around over here, but if I had known how important it was, I probably would have bounced to the pub. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was another key thing is like, if you playing the game again, hopefully it won't stall out, but I'm not going to lie, guys, towards the end, it was getting kind of, we'll say stalled out.
Yeah. I do like the fact that they do give you, there's some flexibility in the game. There's 8 rail lines that come in the game, but you only play with 6 of them. So, and interesting way of selecting them. They have the deck of all the rail cards on the back of these. They put 2 stations that you remove, but they did every combination of the 8 rails stations with another paired with another one and put them on different cards instead of just having 8 cards that had 1 station each and you select 2 of them. they had basically every pairing, and you just had to go through and find which pairing it came. So it's like, well, if they ever add an expansion, this could multiply out and have Cartesian product of all these different combinations of colors. But I assume they're not making an expansion. Actually, I think there is an expansion for this. I'm not sure what it adds, but I think there is an expansion for this game. But it'd be interesting because it's a very strange way of doing it, of doing the combination instead of doing the individuals.
Yeah. Now, it does say advanced level on the game.
Yes. I don't think
it's advanced.
I mean, especially when you consider Lookout advanced. I mean, when you look at the Lookout advanced series, you're talking Hallertau, you're talking... I'm not sure if Nussfjord carried the expert level on it.
I would call this a medium.
I don't know if I can go. I probably light to medium. I think it might be maybe medium because there is the actions of the playing of the.
Well, I think there's some strategy there with getting your cards out. I do think medium is fine. Expert or advanced, no. So there is that piece of it too. Would you play it again?
I would. I mean, it's a two player game. It's kind of interesting. We reviewed Snowdonia, but I went to our channel and it's not a video.
It's because we did a written.
Yeah, I think it was one of our early reviews.
It was.
And Snowdonia, it was beautiful. First of all, I can tell you that we'll eventually do the review for it.
Well, now we can play it. Now we have an excuse to play it. Well, we'll just have to do it. And it's one we already know, so that would be nice.
It's been so long, we're going to have to reread it and replay.
You mean you reread it?
Yes, exactly. But I felt kind of the same from that one. I felt like, and that one, it was more like you got so many great pieces and it was so beautiful and you got it all out. And then the game was like, that's all there is. But it was a base game of it. It wasn't like there's many. And that was almost like a campaign game because there's so many different iterations of ways you can play.
That's the one that's going up around the track and you're clear.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
Same kind of thing. You're clearing the rubble and you're building. But it felt like should have been more to it, and for all of the pieces and everything. But I think it's just because we're probably the first level, if you will.
Yeah. Well, we need to play it again and give it a go. But, I mean, around this game, what are we talking about score-wise?
I am probably at a 6 on this, too. I think it was okay. It's not a horribly bad two-player game. I think there's certain mechanics I like. Like I said, they give you 3 instead of just 2 of the different letters. So when you choose your set of 10, you get some variability. Mm-hmm. You got variability with the lines, the train lines. And, each train line has a little bit of difference. There isn't a huge difference in them, but there's a little bit of variability in how they work. So I do like that. As far as two-player games, there's not, it's one of those things I don't really like playing games two-player usually because they feel like they're dumbed down for two-player or they're,
Well, I don't think that's the case here.
It just doesn't. I don't feel like it either. It feels like it's a two-player game that in general, I don't care for too much. I don't like Seven Wonders Duel. A lot of people do. I'm not a big fan of Seven Wonders Duel. I don't like the Le Havre and Agricola type. I mean, I like Agricola as a two-player game by itself. I don't like the two-player alternate versions of them. Well, I don't need them because they play fine at two-player.
Well, okay, so here's my thing about this game. Okay, so visually, it's very hard to attract. I guess there wasn't a lot of appeal for me to kind of get into the game. So I will do a little caveat that. But I did find it to, at first it was fine. You could do a bunch of stuff. But towards the end, it did kind of start falling kind of flat. Mm-hmm. And, when I was thinking, oh, I really don't need this card, pitch it. Pitch it to my resource pile. Mm-hmm. I feel I should regret removing my card. I should regret not having an action there. The 2 that I did, I did not feel that way at all. So for me, would I play this over Catan? No. Well, I'm at a 5, but I say for a 2-player, would I play Catan 2-player? No, I would not.
I don't think. Can you play Catan 2-player?
it can't be good.
Yeah,
if you can.
Especially, Catan's all about trading. I mean, you're trading with one person. I can't imagine that would be fun.
I can't know. It's probably not. But in the same breath, so I mean, I'll give it a 5.5.
Yeah.
Because I will forget this game. We play so many games. I'm going to forget this game.
Yeah. It definitely is not going to be a lasting memory. I mean, when we think of Red Cathedral's a good 2-player.
I specifically said, hey, that one where we did the thing, and he was like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, we'll figure it out. And he did figure it out. He did.
I'm very good at reading your mind when it comes to choosing a random game by. You know, the one with the pieces. That one.
But he did, and so that's my thing is for the amount of games we have to play, we have to have something memorable, and this did not have anything memorable in it.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I had an absolute blast. Hopefully, you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.